Now the circle is almost complete. Watch and listen to the dream of time and space. It all comes out now, flowing like a river. That which is and is not. Ah, Laura is the one.
Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge, the podcast where we're currently watching Twin Peaks. You're here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Marcus Marinos.
Oh, and Tyler McKinley. There's usually one more in between us.
Mitchell Marshall.
Justin Hammer.
Yeah, Riley is missing. She's a volunteer firefighter, and shit is wild. So hopefully we see her next week. But until then, we watched parts 9 and 10 of Twin Peaks Season 3. Part 9, titled This is the Chair, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, directed by David Lynch, and originally aired July 9th, 2017. And Part 10, Laura is the One, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, and directed by David Lynch, originally airing July 16th, 2017. And don't worry if you had a busy week, you weren't able to watch the episodes. Mitchell is here to take you by the hand and walk you through every single lovely moment of these two episodes. Mitchell, please.
I'm not going to top last week, just so you guys know. All right. Zombie Coop emerges. Gordon Cole shouts through a phone call about Lieutenant Knox. Mr. C arrives to a farmhouse with some of his followers. He has a bullet wound. Diane is still grumpy and more grumpy about stopping in Buckhorn. Agent Preston gets a call from the warden that Cooper flew the coop. Mr. C calls that random dude in Vegas and asks if it's done. It is not done. He then orders Chantel and the dude to kill the warden. Chantel is thirsty for that Cooper D, so she gives him a bag of Cheetos. A Las Vegas Police Department questions Dougie's boss about him having enemies. Dougie and Naomi Watts wait outside. The Popo says there's no record of Dougie before 1997. Sneaky Dave Keckner gets Dougie's DNA from a coffee cup. Then they find out Ike the Spike is at a nearby hotel and his prints were everywhere on the gun, literally. Dougie stares at an American flag while America the Beautiful plays. Ike the Spike shoots whiskey and reports his injury and his failures, but while he's leaving the motel, he is surrounded by the coppers. Lucy and Andy are having a hard time choosing a color for their new chair ottoman combo. Beige versus red. Andy caves, but she buys the one he wants anyway. How adorable, but seriously, that's it. That's the scene. Johnny Horn runs through the house until he hits a wall and maybe dies. Bobby Hawk and New Truman question Mrs. Briggs about the day before Garland died. The day that day he had told her that this exact thing would happen. She relays some encouraging words to Bobby and gives New Truman a pen-looking thing that Garland left to them at the morgue. Diane is irate that she can't smoke in the waiting room. She waits while Cole, Albert, and Knox go to the body. Then she gets the lively dinner text from Mr. C, that backstabbing mole whore. Hastings' blog has cryptic references to the Major. They notice the body is too young to be Mr. Briggs. Jerry Horn talks to his foot and maybe tries to perform an exorcism on it. Chad is that asshole that eats lunch in the conference room. Bobby opens the pen thing, and there's a map with instructions. Only Bobby would know how to open it and where Jack Rabbit's palace would be. Diane smokes. Matthew Lillard is finally back. Hastings has a blog about separate dimensions. He spoke to the Major and got coordinates for him from a military base, and when shown photos, he does select the correct Briggs as the Major he speaks of. They give Briggs numbers, and he says, Cooper, Cooper, as he floated away. Hastings only ever wanted to scuba dive. Ben Horn and Ashley Judd are still trying to find the root of the sound in his office. She makes a move, and he refuses. Maybe he's finally growing up. A disc jockey plays music at the Roadhouse. A young woman who seems to be on drugs sniffs her own pits. She got fired for going to work high, she thinks, and she has a really bad rash in her armpit. Miriam told the police Richard ran over the little boy. Richard kills Miriam. He asks Chad to intercept a letter she sent to the sheriff about him. The trailer park guy sings a nice song. Amanda Seyfried's lazy drug-addicted lover, who looks like poor American Theon Greyjoy, beats and berates her. Mitchum brother number one, a.k.a. the guy from Prison Break, watches as a cocktail waitress tries to kill a fly with a napkin in a house. Please let this go on for an hour like that episode of Breaking Bad. She hits him in the head with a remote trying to kill the fly. Mitchum brother number two, a.k.a. according to Jim, comforts him. Dougie visits the doctor and is in fantastic shape. Cocktail Candy is still sad about the fly remote incident hours later. They see Ike arrested on the news. Naomi Watts has turned on the charm for Dougie. He is more eating more into eating cake than pie, but they bang anyway. She climaxes or fakes really good, and Coop looks blissful as his arms flap through his orgasm. Captain Jacoby is back. Nadine is salivating over his libertarian rhetoric. Naomi is still glowing after last night. Chad grabs the mail, and Lucy sees him hide the letter. Johnny Horn is tied to a chair with a padded helmet. Little Killer Horn gets text confirmation from Chad that he intercepted the letter, then goes to threaten and choke out his grandmother and threaten her for money, stealing cash and jewelry. Johnny struggles to help, but is still tied to the chair. I want this little motherfucker dead. Mr. Todd finds out about Ike the Spike. He tells the henchman to frame Dougie and get him killed by the Mitchum brothers. Albert goes on a date with the Buckhorn autopsy lady. At the casino, the Mitchum brothers send Candy to bring in the henchman / I just figured out that's Dougie's insurance rival guy. He tells them that Dougie Jones rejected their claim and has a personal vendetta. Gordon Cole enters a knock at his hotel room door and sees Laura. No, it's Albert. Common mistake. Albert tells Gordon about the text Diane got. She's a mole. Preston has a picture of Mr. C at the New York glass box place. Sylvia Horn tells Ben about the attack. Sadly, they are separated, and she wants him to send her replacement when maybe she's a heartless bitch, and that's why her grandson is such a piece of shit. Log Lady calls about the electricity buzzing in nature. She tells Hawk the circle is almost complete, and Laura is the one. At the Roadhouse, a performance of a song called No Stars just keeps going on. With 6 minutes to go, I hope we had more story, but no, she just keeps singing. The end.
That's it? That's all?
That's all that happened, guys.
Okay. I don't really have anything to talk about. It's
we're
all
done
pretty
here.
straightforward, I feel like. So we'll see you next week. No.
I'm Marcus.
Oh, no. Sorry. That was a...
I'm
I didn't sell the
Marcus
bit
Marine.
enough. It was bad. Let's talk. These...
About sex between Dougie and Naomi Watts.
Yeah.
Best sex scene in television history.
The good old classic, we're going to stay a little chased by staying behind the back for the cowgirl, and then his arms are just flapping.
Yeah.
Just falling up and down on the bed.
Pretty normal.
When it cuts to his face, I am just overjoyed, and I'm like, I wonder if there was a mirror the first time that would I have seen a similar face?
Yeah.
What?
As long as there weren't similar hands, you're probably okay.
Yeah, I mean the hands. That's how everyone does it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't find that weird at all.
Yeah, when he's eating the cake, my wife hates it when characters and shows overuse people's names. So any scene with Dougie drives her crazy. And so while they're eating the cake, she's like, if she says his name one more time, I'm going to kill someone. I'm like, it's about to be used very sexually, so buckle up.
I got that text. You guys had talked about that quote in the section.
Yeah.
I got it right before it happened, and I was so excited to hear where it came from.
Yeah, there it is.
Honestly, it kind of reminded me of the fake orgasm scene from When Harry Met Sally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Classic, but definitely worked.
Yeah, what a scene. This is the first time we've seen Cooper get laid, so good for him.
This might be the first time he's been laid in 25 years.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
You don't think there was anyone in the black lot? You don't think him in the arm kind of got a little
I don't
lonely?
know. I guess 25 years you probably developed some
Get
weird
some action with
ideas
Shadow
about
Laura.
stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm done with this line of thought.
But I mean that the scene before that though was probably the hardest I've laughed in the new season of the cake. Just him.
Oh yeah.
Just going full focused on that cake.
That shot of Naomi Watts, how it pans up from her, like
Her
'cause it starts on the
toes
floor.
pointed.
Yeah, it starts, and you just see the way she's sitting in that chair, and then her face is like one of the most just effectively communicated states of emotion I think I've ever seen on film. Like immediately, just like, oh, shit's about to.
That's how I look at cake that way.
Especially chocolate.
But yeah, these episodes I really like, especially coming off last week, where we didn't get any characters we knew really, except for Mr. C and Ray, that fucker. Like, to come back to this, we're starting to see this collision of like a bunch of things finally, where like the FBI's in Buckhorn and the Mitchums know Ike the Spike and also hate Dougie now. Like there's all these, finally, like these things are coming together in ways where you're starting to see
a lot
that.
of characters we'd only seen once or twice that reemerge, and yeah, we're finding their connection again. But I mean, honestly, like, I had to hear their names again. I had to be like, did I know about that connection? So that's why I'm going to watch this 18 hours straight. That's my goal. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
I'll join you.
All right.
I will join you.
2 pea breaks and chicken nuggets.
Simultaneous at the same time.
Yes,
Is
you
that-
can
okay.
only eat while you pee, and we'll have Mountain Dew.
Yeah, you ever done? Yeah, that's why they have the tank on the back of the toilet, is so you can sit on it backwards and eat cereal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have never done that
You're
before?
supposed to fill that place up with milk. Right? And the lid keeps your Captain
Keeps it
Crunch.
fresh.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar.
Oh, really? You
sidebar
want a
to the
sidebar
sidebar?
from this?
When I was in Japan, in my brother's apartment, he had a toilet where the back was like that top lid was a bowl and it functioned as the sink.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
And so you
Yeah.
get done with your stuff, you just turn around and wash your hands in the toilet water. That's good, and they use that water to flush it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
clean
like-
water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Neat. That's neat.
yeah.
It's efficient.
End of the bar.
Really kicking
Sidebar.
our ass over there, man.
Well, let's talk about idol culture later. Okay.
They had the Masked Singer first. Can I just say I shit upon the Masked Singer when I saw it? And this year I'm probably going to watch
Shit
it.
upon.
Yeah, I was like, that's the dumbest, most gimmicky piece of crap show. And then now I kind of want to watch it. I did the
You-
same
I
thing
mean,
with
you
American Idol and Finding Nemo, so... Dude, I had the hottest takes in 01 on Nemo. I was like,
How old were
Get
you
this
when Finding
fish
Nemo
movie
came
out
out?
of
Were you
my-
like 9?
I was 9. I already had opinions. When I was 9, I was pretending to be the co-host of Regis and Kelly, and I really went
Which
hard at
one
Nemo.
were you?
What?
Which one were you?
Wait,
Well-
like you would pretend on your
I
own
had
time?
imitations of both because Kelly would often go off on these rants about her house in the Hamptons, and I had a couple bits that were just gold.
This explains so much.
I get it. 9-year-old Mitchell talking about like how shitty Finding Nemo is.
This
in
was
his
entertaining
Regis-
as hell for your
Regis
family.
impression.
I would go on to watch it many hundreds of times with my nieces and nephews, and it's fine.
Thanks for updating us on that. 'Cause I was nervous.
We have a sidebar. No, I'm just kidding.
Just piling sidebars on sidebars this week. Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about first? Should we talk about Let's talk
Mr.
about
C.
let's talk about that guy.
Mr. C.
Just covered in blood. I dream of a day that I can look as badass covered in my own blood, strolling up to my friends. I don't know.
I mean, and he's immediately greeted by someone who knows what it's like to be drenched in blood.
Oh god.
Tim Roth.
Yes.
Tim Roth. Oh man, when he popped up, I was like, new favorite character.
Yes.
Hutch.
Oh man. We'd be so lucky if Mr. C was just like, I'm fucking dying. That's
all I could think about.
Come out of the woods and they're like,
That's what I
smeared
said
all
out
over.
loud when me and Katie were watching. As soon as he popped up, I was like, "What fucking die?" We just watched it like 2 weeks ago. It's
Great. It's a great movie. Yeah. So Chantal and Hutch, we see Jennifer Jason Leigh again. Gross as ever.
Did she really give him a bag of Cheetos? Is that what that was?
That she really did, yeah. This show continues to be weird and just like not giving a fuck about brands, like, and it
Yeah.
doesn't like outright. You
No,
never
it's
see.
I
the
thought it was
Cheetos
Fritos
logo,
at
but-
first.
Yeah,
Which
but you
I
can
recently
tell.
came around on Fritos, by the way. I used to think they only belonged in chili or salads, and now I'm like, Fritos are good. So I was a little disappointed that they were Cheetos, but yeah, they're distinctly Cheetos. They come out of her back pocket, I believe.
Yeah.
Which means he's going to have to eat Cheeto powder or snort it, whatever you do.
Yeah, I mean, as a Black Lodge entity, I
never
think
know.
you just you stick them in your ears or
You
something. I
consume
don't
it
know.
however you consume it. man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I'm gaming, I'll put them in a cup and drink them, so I don't get my fingers all dusty.
right,
Smart.
that's a
Smart.
pro tip.
Yeah.
Pro tip.
God damn it.
Pro gamer tip.
Pro gamer.
The most oppressed of tips.
Okay.
We're so focused today. Okay. So he gets in the car. Do we see him after that? I don't remember.
No, so he does text. He sends that text. The conversation around the conversation around the dinner table
Right.
is lively, and then it's later revealed that that's sent to Diane.
This is really the ultimate betrayal of the original series. If they've done one thing where it's turned on its head, I'm super sad about this.
Diane, you have opinions about Diane. I don't think we heard your opinion. Didn't you say that you had opinions about Diane? Maybe that was someone else. I don't know.
I'm not a very opinionated person.
Hey, we don't know yet. What if she's a triple agent or something like that?
Well, because she met him, remember, she didn't think she She was like, "That's not the Dougie I knew, or not the
Dougie.
the Cooper I knew." I'm not going to look at Tyler's face when I say that. I'm starting to question if we are going to get Cooper at all.
Yeah,
especially
I
in
am
Twin
also
Peaks.
wondering.
And I'm like, that's something David Lynch would do and can do. And I don't need fan service, but it makes me a little sad. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like heartbroken. I'm like still coming to terms with my grief.
And I'm like, I don't know how Dougie's stuff is going to really tie into everything, but there's a couple strands. Especially when it comes to the crime shit going on, and then like the paranormal shit going on, and then Twin Peaks itself.
Well, I feel like we finally got a lot of answers within these episodes. Like we finally understand what are the brothers who own the casino. What are their names?
The Mitchum brothers.
The Mitchum brothers.
Who I
Mediocre
just
deal.
love.
Oh man! By the way, almost all of my notes are just lines, just wonderful lines from so many great uses of the word fuck. My favorite, personally, is you fuck us once, shame on us. You fuck us twice, shame on you, you're dead. Great.
So good.
Wonderful.
I
wonderful.
love also the moment right after that where like he says you're dead, and then his other brother's like, oh, like that was maybe a little far. There's like this moment where he like takes a breath. He's like, it's okay, like pats him on the shoulder. Like it's really delightful. Yeah, one of my favorites is the naked screaming little fox. Dr. Amp, which is just that Dr. Amp speech. It's just better.
That segment is like somehow ousted the previous one. I didn't think it could be done.
Well, it's because they just got to pick up right from where the last one left off and just continue that trajectory.
Also, Nadine finally has her silent drape place.
Right, yeah.
With a golden shovel right in the window. She is in love with
good.
Dr. Amp.
So good, yeah.
Take yourself out of the shit.
It's a risky move, running a small business and putting your political beliefs right in the front window. It's pretty tough.
Oh man. Gosh, the line now. Since we're talking about Dr. Amp, there's a couple lines that I love in that. He's like, why does the government care who we marry? Are we going to invite them to the wedding? Are they going to come? Fuck no!
They're probably off fucking someone else.
Good.
I got to re-listen to that whole rant. I might make it my ringtone.
It's so good.
The fucks are at it again. That's going to be my message tone every time.
It's so good. I love too that remains disconnected from anything else in the show up to this point. Like it's just fun. Like if I had to point to like where's the fun of old Twin Peaks, it's now just embodied in Dr. Amp and probably Jerry Horn out in the
I was
fucking
going to say,
woods.
Jerry is definitely a candidate for that.
He got some bad weed.
I love those scenes so much.
It's just,
I am not your foot.
With like the classic
good.
Lynch subtitles, even though that's totally understandable.
yeah. Yeah, coming in one word at a time. Like it's, oh man, it's so delightful. Yeah, I really like a lot of the Twin Peaks stuff. Let's actually stay in Twin Peaks. Let's talk about the sheriff's department. We get some like moving forward in whatever the hell is going on there, and going to the Briggs house, which I love that scene. It's another one of those scenes where it's like it's just enough of that old Twin Peaks.
Ooh, yeah.
And I don't know, that whole thing of her talking to Bobby, like that just like rings back. That's why I think this scene in particular is why one of my favorite moments in the original series is that when Major Briggs is talking to Bobby and he's like, I had a vision of you, basically living a good life and all of this and everything's going to turn out fine. Like there's something about being able to see 25 years later and see, oh yeah, Bobby got his shit together. He works for the sheriff's department now. He's probably still kind of an asshole, but like he's really trying his best. And like, I don't know, there's just some great emotional closure for me with that stuff. I
think it's a testament to it that how much of a scumbag he was. Like that moment when you think he's starting to like become good, and then he suggests to Shelley that they cash in on the insurance. And like,
yeah,
that moment is like, man, this guy's shit, and you hate him. And I know, at least for me now in this, it's like, I'm like, oh, it's Bobby.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I love that guy. Like, but I shouldn't.
Like, how the hell is Bobby Briggs one of my favorite characters to see in season 3 of Twin Peaks? You know,
it felt like that scene in particular when they go to the Briggs home, it felt really like classic Twin Peaks because we got a secret compartment.
Oh yeah,
yes,
lots of secret compartments in original Twin Peaks, and we got a little thing that's hard to open with a secret inside.
Yeah,
classic.
I love the presentation of that too, where she's like, "Follow me." And then she's like, watch. It's important that they see exactly what's about to happen. Like, all of that just feels so good. And just, oh man, it's just, and I'm glad that scene goes on for a while. And I just like that it lets you bathe in that. It's so great. But yeah, and then that also brings the return of, obviously, very one of my favorite cool weird things from the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks is the Cooper, message from the woods.
And Hawk gets it immediately. He's like, 2 Coopers.
Yeah, just so cool. But yeah, all of that. I mean, they introduced the idea of this place, Jack Rabbit's Palace, which is also, it's a very Bobby specific thing. Like, no one else, it's literally a place that no one else is going to recognize as an actual place. But yeah, so the sheriff's department stuff I really love. Let's keep going with Hawk. He gets another call from the log lady. And man, this is one of my favorite log lady scenes too. Just because the dialogue, I wrote down a lot of it because it's so good. But I think probably one of my favorite things, I think one of the most alarming things to me when I first watched this episode was the line, "Laura is the one."
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have any takes on that or like impressions from any of her stuff. Like,
I would love to know what, like, Laura's cosmic linchpin role in all this. Like, I don't need you to explain all the mythology to me, but I need some closure on, like, they're keeping Laura relevant. She must have some sort of connection within the lodges and all this crazy shit that we're seeing to, like, what is going on with Cooper, because those seem to be the 2 central figures of everything we've done through Twin Peaks. When you think about what he chose to bring back, like, we're still only getting some quirky stuff, like, from Lucy and Andy too. It's just like what really mattered in Twin Peaks to, like, this bigger thing, and now this new piece of story he wants to tell with Dougie and all these criminals and shit. Like, it's those 2. So I want to know what Laura's role is, but I have 0 thoughts or theories on it.
okay.
We also have that scene where Gordon opens the door and sees Laura, like in front of Albert or whatever, her spooky ghost.
Yeah, which I didn't fully confirm this, but I do believe that's from Fire Walk With Me. It's when she goes to Donna's house and is like, "Are you my best friend?" Like that whole speech, which I love. So I don't know if that's super relevant, but I do think it's an interesting choice. But yeah, so more Twin Peaks stuff. We're still seeing Richard Horn, who is one of the most abhorrent creatures
Awful.
ever. Like, just absolutely disgusting. We get the return of Johnny Horn in also an extremely disturbing way.
Is this the first time we've seen Johnny since the pilot? Or the second episode?
No, there's one other time you see him shooting a bow and arrow.
He's yelling.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, around just about pre-Civil War era Ben Horn, I think is when we see that. But yeah, that first time we see him, like that first shot is really unnerving to me. Just that empty house and those footsteps, and then you see him just like run across the upper like walkway.
balcony. Yeah.
And then just fucking runs into a wall and smashes a picture of presumably the Great Northern, I guess. I don't know, like,
It looks like.
and I guess this time when I saw it, all I could think was like, the last time we saw someone's head smash into a picture was Maddie Ferguson, maybe, when Leland's like, "Muzzle Montana," and smashes her head into that picture. I don't know. There's a lot of weird connections / not connections, I feel like, in this show that I don't really know how to parse.
Well, we got lots of head smashing in in OG Twin Peaks.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But yeah, I guess what do you guys want to talk about with Richard Horn?
So, who was the woman he killed? Miriam? Have we seen her before? I don't remember who she is.
She was at the accident, or when he ran over that kid, and like she recognized him as he was driving away. And I guess from this scene, we find out that they know each other.
Yeah. Okay.
And she had the only other time we've seen her is at the Double R. She's the one that talks about the pie so much and loves the pie.
Okay.
That Shelley and I can't remember the giggling German girl's name, but that they just love her.
Okay, got it. It was difficult to see her through the screen door.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
She could have just said, "No, I sent it yesterday." She could have had a gun. Just be smart. When you know someone's going to kill you, be smart.
There's some stupid decisions
5
made by
rules
his
to live by.
victims in this episode.
Yes. Yes.
Just close the fucking door, Grandma.
Oh man, it's every time he starts walking up the walkway, I'm like, go in now, go in now, go in now. Fuck.
I
don't know if I'll rewatch that again.
Absurdly
It is
disturbing.
Brutal, yeah.
With the robot bear talking the whole time.
Yeah.
What is it saying? Johnny, how are you
Here's
today?
Johnny. Oh no.
How's your day, Johnny?
horrifying.
I can't.
I don't remember
it's
either.
something-
I could watch that kid get hit by the truck all day, but I cannot watch that kid beat up his own grandma. I don't know what it is. We all have our lines.
So here's
Mine is armpit rash, I think.
was
I can watch any head explode. I could watch, any gruesome gore you've got
No, yeah, she
over
was
that
disgusting.
scratching of that armpit ever again.
Yeah.
So Richard Horn, we know he's a Horn. I'm assuming he's Audrey's kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Maybe with Billy Zane. I don't know. Maybe with somebody else. But
Oh my!
There's a reason,
goodness, that one
yeah.
time with Billy Zane got her pregnant, and then an explosive. We all know science. The explosive blast when you're pregnant. If there's a fetus in there,
I don't know if I know science.
the explosions will, impact the behavior of the fetus when it's born. It's a very explosive personality. It can be for good or evil, and in this case, we are seeing the Markotroff theory come through of evil.
Yes.
Felix Markotroff, my favorite fetal psychologist.
But it just turns out it was my old business rival Aslan de Vega.
Yeah, just I mean, I will say specifically part 10 is full of brutal violence against women exclusively, unless you want to count Mitchum getting hit in the face with a remote, which we'll talk about that later because I fucking love that scene. But because you have and it feels to me that the bringing up Laura Palmer in this episode feels very reflective of that also, because we are seeing Richard attacking Miriam, Richard attacking his grandmother. We're seeing Stephen and Becky, like Stephen being extremely abusive, and then I'm probably forgetting something. Yeah, but there are just tons of those moments, and also I think Candy is important to mention, who is the woman with the Mitchums, because her reaction definitely insinuates past abuse.
She seems very fearful.
Yeah, I think not necessarily by the Mitchums, but possibly a history of abuse for her. That is one thing I do love the Mitchums handling her and being like, I'm fine. Everything's fine, but that is still there, and that is a real thing. And I feel like the idea of this episode ending with the log lady essentially saying Laura is the one, and also us seeing these all of these cases of abuse. I don't think that's a mistake. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that all ties that together, and the idea also that the log lady says the circle is. I think she says the circle is almost complete. to me, that just those cycles of abuse, that cycle, whether that cycle started in this universe with, the idea that we're coming back around to Laura Palmer back in 1989, like whatever that means, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's all really, really interesting. So yeah, anything else in Twin Peaks that you guys want to talk about? I think we covered most of it. I guess we could talk about that rash scene.
Oh gosh.
Just another disconnected scene. A zebra and a penguin are mentioned. I don't really know what else to say about it.
Man. Last person you want serving you hamburgers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about is she's just opening new sores.
Imagine
in
it's
her pit.
that scene from Men in Black where he the alien becomes like the waiter. He kills the waiter and wears his clothes, and he hands him the food, and a cockroach spills out of his
Yeah.
sleeve all over their food.
Yeah.
I imagine that's what had happened. So maybe it's needles.
Well, it's interesting what we've seen come back around or not come back around from the double R, because we had the scene with Shelley and James, which we haven't heard from them since. And then we had the scene where Richard Horn is a real jerk to some people we've never seen again.
Right.
And we kind of see that he has some sort of relationship with Chad, which did come back around in this one.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm interested to see if they have even the smallest role. I mean, maybe she's connected to that drug-addled lady in Vegas. Who knows?
Right, yeah,
Maybe all
yeah.
of our druggies are friends.
We all knew Chad was a bitch, but not like this.
Yeah.
Piece of
like,
shit.
oh, there's a cafeteria, but I'm going to eat in the freaking conference room when I know I'm not supposed to because the sheriff is out. Tool bag.
I mean, to be fair, to play devil's advocate here, Chad also wasn't able to use the bathroom because Hawk was just destroying it. Not like in the traditional sense, but literally taking it apart, So he probably feels a little put out,
Don't defend Chad, a piece of shit. He's stealing mail. He's working for who was it? Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I like the traditional sense of destroying a bathroom as the metaphorical meaning instead of the literal destroying a bathroom.
I mean, how many times do you hear of someone just going in and like destroying a bathroom with a hammer? Like that's when I mention that, you'll know I didn't do that.
I think the last thing in Twin Peaks we kind of haven't mentioned is Ben Horn. We get another scene of them looking for that ringing sound in the Great Northern, which sounded, I don't know if it's related or not, but it sounded familiar to the ringing sound of the little secret tube that we got when Bobby throws it on the ground and then he holds it up to his ear and you hear a ringing.
Yeah.
It sounded similar. I don't know if there's a connection there.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
whatever
no,
that
but
is.
It definitely does sound similar. Absolutely. I think that the other interesting thing to note is when he's like, yeah, it sounds like the hum of a monastery's bell. That's very Agent Cooper of you to say. Like that's it's really, really interesting.
I think Ben Horn is actually a good guy. I think he's changed.
Hasn't been the same since the war.
He did. He went through a lot, and it might have all been in his head, but he went through it.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that stuff's interesting.
It's also interesting that he doesn't. Well, I guess because she's married.
Right.
I was mainly thinking of him well, apparently him and his relationship with his wife is no longer
a
thing.
But he's still wearing a wedding ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like this weird separation.
He's married to somebody else.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. So that stuff's really interesting. I'm always happy to see Twin Peaks stuff for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the FBI. And they finally kind of catch up with stuff in Buckhorn. One of my, I don't know why this makes me laugh every time, but one of my favorite moments is when Gordon Cole pulls Albert aside. He's like, Albert, can we talk in the hall? And then he goes out here, he's like, let's think out loud, and just yells basically every piece of information that you might be trying to hide from separating yourself from a group of people.
I do love when he gets that phone call. I can't say I appreciate your language. Oh, Buckhorn.
They go incredibly hard on that joke in this season so far. Like, it's so like there's the joke early on with Albert when Albert mentions Mount Rushmore, and he's like, "I appreciate your desire to hurry." Stupid. But yeah, all of that stuff. Let's talk about Matthew Lillard first of all.
Hey,
He's back.
Holy shit!
Wow.
He said Scoob twice, and it broke the fourth wall for me.
You bastard.
I do want to add that to our list of canonical movies within the Twin Peaks universe, and especially Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed.
Is that the one? Is the
I
first
can't
one
remember.
Monsters Island or something like that?
I don't think there's a subtitle to the first one, but
Oh.
yes, it is the one where they go to the island and Mr. Bean
And Scrappy
does
Doo's
weird shit
behind
to
it all.
Scrappy-Doo. Yeah,
Really a career peak for like
Everybody in the
everyone
film.
in that cast.
that's Linda Cardellini is really on the right.
Hey,
Yeah,
Freddie
she's having
Prinze
a
Jr.
research.
was in Dragon Age Inquisition, okay?
Hey, he wrote for the WWE
I think he
for a
still
while.
does.
He?
Yeah. I mean, that makeover movie he did, and she was in Buffy and Cruel Intentions. So I'm wrong about pretty much everyone.
But definitely, especially the second Scooby-Doo, there's a lot more monsters in that one. I think we can confirm that all of those are Black Lodge
Oh, of
entities.
course. I don't think I've actually ever seen the second one.
Oh, it's bad.
The first one was.
There's a sexy
yeah.
Velma in it, though, so if that's your thing, go rent it
pretty into
immediately.
James Gunn, I believe, wrote and directed both of those.
Is that
No, he didn't.
That cements more
I'm
of my
looking it
theory that James Gunn's just not a good director. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Guardians of the Galaxy!" Yeah, like Kevin Feige has like all his hands in all those pies. Like,
I don't know. Number one, like the writing, directing, and music in that is all pretty damn good, and two is
And then
not
he
as bad as
also
people
made
say
two.
it is.
No, it's pretty bad. I would say it's worse than
Two's-
people say.
I thought 2 was awful, but I also didn't love 1, so I don't know. James Gunn's not talented, so
Well, he's going to
See
make
ya.
I
Suicide
wouldn't say he's
Squad,
not
and it can't be worse than the first one, so that's at least a gimme.
Scooby-Doo movies, Lollipop Chainsaw, those are all on the list. So
Okay. So, but yeah, any thoughts on Buckhorn stuff?
Tammy has photos of
Oh, that's right.
Mr. C in the glass box with a clown pope or some. I couldn't tell
Yes,
what that other.
with the clown pope.
Wait, was he actually in the box? I thought he was
No, he's not
outside
in
of
the
it.
box. He's just standing in front of it.
I thought
at the location.
So is it one of those cameras though that's catching it, like one of the round?
I don't know if that's explicitly.
Oh, then I
like,
misunderstood it
noted.
because I thought it was from an image from one of those cameras. He was in the box and someone was outside the box talking to him.
I thought the only image we had of Mr. C was that one of him in like the Bahamas or whatever.
Oh man, that,
Right. Previous to this, yes. That is
my
true.
wallpaper on my computer at work.
What I think Mr. C is behind the whole box because earlier in some of the first few episodes, he said he had a plan not to get sucked back in the Black Lodge, and I think the box has to deal with that plan
Yeah.
somehow.
That's a good. Yeah,
He's trying to
Well, that's
get
a good
maybe
connection.
old Cooper out, and so he can kill him, and then I don't know.
Well, we did get official confirmation that he is behind, or the one who's in charge of. I can't remember the dude's name. The guy with the Lenovo laptop.
Mr.
and-
Todd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I called him that random guy in Vegas. I'm so. We also find out that there was no record of Dougie until 1997,
Oh, true.
which is interesting because the show. I mean, things ended in 91, 92.
I think actually, like in the canon of the show, it's like 1990.
Okay.
Because,
So
yeah.
somewhere within 6 to 7 years, he creates this doppelganger and some sort of existence and being.
We
which
also
is interesting.
discovered that Dougie was in a car accident at one point, and he's
had some episodes
weird
since
side
then,
effects, which we don't really know what they are. So
Yeah. Being really cool, being really good at his job, being a good husband. I think those are all the side effects of
Yeah.
the car crash because he's clearly been doing that really well since we've seen him. But yeah, that's that is another thing they bring up. We see a lot of the I'm just going to call him the detectives Fusco.
Yeah.
the fucking best.
Yeah, just. I wish I'm going to plug your ears. I'm going to try to replicate that laugh.
Oh,
I can't do it. I can't do it. It's
closer than I could get.
it is
Does that guy have any lines, or does he just laugh?
He
got a
does
couple lines.
sometimes. Yeah, he's got a couple, but it's always like as he's laughing, like he's always bringing up extremely hilarious things.
I did like. I honestly didn't find that scene super hilarious, but I did.
No,
I
it's
did
not.
find. I did find how they used it later, where you just see them by the taillight of the car, and you can't tell what they're saying, but then you just hear that laugh. And I'm like, that's a good callback. That's good.
I think also the idea that like when they find Ike the Spike, two of the brothers have the most cliched like bullshit cop lines, and then he just laughs at both of them is so weird. Of course, they like. I do feel like these episodes we're getting more of like, okay, there are very quirky characters in this show outside of Twin Peaks as well.
Yeah.
We're seeing the Fusco brothers. Brothers? I don't know if they're brothers or not. I just connect
would
that
assume,
dot, I would
yeah.
think. I think even some of the stuff with the Mitchums is like almost reminiscent of the Horns in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Where like they're obviously very bad people, but they're also fine. They're good people too. I don't
Yeah,
know. They've
well,
got that duality
How
to
they
them. You
handle
know?
like he's like talking about firing Candy, and he's like, "Where's she gonna go?"
Yeah. It's like,
These guys
doesn't have anywhere.
These
to
guys
go,
like
yeah.
kill people, and then they're like worried about that.
Why
Yeah.
does Candy seem out of it after she panics?
It's a good question.
Is
Yeah.
that just her character? Because it seemed to me she was already a little kooky, but then she just seems so spacey and like not doing what they asked, not listening, not bringing the guy in. And I was like, it's like she got hit in the head.
Yeah, it was weird. And that whole scene, like her coming back in, she's like, I was telling him that we're an inversion layer and it's going to be very smoggy tomorrow. And we're so lucky to have air conditioning in this building. And he's just like, that's basically it. Exactly what you said. Like, what a weird scene. But yeah, so that stuff is all fun. Ike the Spike is out of the picture for now, captured by the police. I guess I'm trying to think of the Mr. Todd is now changing his tack on how to get Dougie assassinated.
Yeah.
So he sends he does send Anthony Sinclair to basically turn the Mitchums against who they already know and hate as Mr. Jackpots. And hopefully, yeah. So now they are the assassins, I guess, that will be chasing Dougie Jones, and trying to get him. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in Vegas. We have that delightful sex scene with Janie, Ian, Dougie. Let's talk about him at the police station, because there's that scene of the American flag and America the Beautiful, right?
Yes.
Okay. Playing as he stares at it, and then very distinctly him just looking at red high heels, which I guess also feel American. Like when that woman walks by and his focus is immediately drawn from the flag to her shoes.
For me, I thought of Audrey Horne, maybe?
Yeah,
Doesn't she have shoes like that?
No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he looks at the outlet on the wall, the evil electricity.
Yeah.
That's where I came from.
Also, we have, I don't know, maybe this is probably a really stupid connection, but I like finding those. So he's drinking his coffee. Then one of the detectives, Fusco, gets him another coffee, and then they're going to get his DNA off of the coffee mug. And then we get another red coffee mug thrown out the window by, what's his bucket? Steven, that piece of shit. So, I think there's a connection there. There's probably not. There's probably not.
I mean, those are very, I always think those choices are intentional. I don't know that they're like a big deal, but they
why?
I don't know. There's like, I don't know. I
Just want to know why. I feel so bad for Amanda Seyfried. Remember how she played Little Red Riding Hood? Was that movie any good?
I did not see it.
Raise your hand if you've seen that Little Red Riding Hood movie. Anyone?
Which one?
Even me.
Was it a live action movie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When was that?
The Huntsman? Is that what it was called?
No, it was
That's a different one. That's
That was
Snow
Kristen
White.
Stewart. Yeah.
It was 2010, I think.
All right, let's see.
I remember seeing it in a Walmart.
I'm gonna give you $5 if it's 2010.
And then you can go to Walmart and buy Little Red Riding Hood on
They probably
DVD.
don't even have it, man. Their DVD section's a fucking mess.
I haven't even looked. I haven't even been there.
2011, and it was called Red Riding Hood.
Close.
Man, so close.
It's got a 10%
You owe me
on Rotten
$5 now.
Tomatoes.
Hey, whoa.
That's how that works.
But a 92% on Google. What?
Maybe it was good.
I doubt.
Probably only 2 people. There's probably like 3 people that have watched
That's where
it,
you landed on that.
rated it on Google.
I've never looked at Google ratings. So I was like, I saw 92, and I was like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was another sidebar.
But yeah, I will say if you want to see a great Amanda Seyfried performance, go watch First Reformed. And I know you guys haven't seen it because we would have talked about it for hours.
It's
You
on
should go watch it. It's
my
amazing.
Amazon list.
But if you want to have fun, go watch Mamma Mia.
No one wants to have that much fun. It's dangerous.
It'll make you want to go to Greece.
make me want to have kidney stones instead, probably.
Wow, you hate ABBA. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. I guess let's talk about Briggs real quick because we get some more terminology from Bill Hastings about. He references the zone is brought up a lot. He has a blog called The Search for the Zone, which is a real website that you can go to. It's like a GeoCities ass old school website. I don't think it has any of his actual blog entries on it, but there are a bunch of like really interesting articles posted on it, like links to the essay on electricity by Nikolai Tesla, and some other stuff about I'm trying to remember the titles and like actual references, but there's like stuff about quantum dimensions and stuff.
Oh my
like
god,
that
I
going
love
on.
this. I love
Yeah,
this
it's
so
it's
much.
it's really great. So is search for the search for the zone.com, is that what it is?
The searchforthezone.com.
Yeah, definitely check that out. It's really great.
I'm visitor 1,079,800 since June 1st, 1997. That's what it says.
I'm pretty sure there's like a thing on there that's like, this website was made the correct way in Notepad or like something like that. This like hardcore ass web
If you
developer
go to the
bullshit.
donate thing, it lets you just buy the soundtrack.
Yeah. So this, I'm not sure exactly who was in charge of putting this together, but I do think it's a fun touch for Twin Peaks.
Very cool.
But yeah, we get basically we learn that Major Briggs was looking for these coordinates too, that we can assume are the same coordinates that Mr. C is looking for, and that when he got them, he floated into the air.
Maybe like the giant and the old timey thing with the uterus. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sentence
Didn't
out
he
of context is amazing.
Didn't Bill also mention that when he floated in the air, that's when his head came off?
Yes.
Which is crazy.
mention that.
That's
Because
crazy.
we have seen his head floating, and we have seen his body way too young sitting in a morgue. If maybe his body.
Yeah.
I wonder. Those coordinates. I think they might just be to Twin Peaks.
Could be.
How boring.
Yeah, the King Arthur's Court or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah. where
Yeah,
the trees
maybe-
are.
Glastonbury Grove.
Or maybe Jack Rabbit's palace.
Oh.
In the tube that Bobby opens by throwing repeatedly on the ground. He's like, I know how to open this.
It's like, is this a tuning fork?
And like then he like holds it. You're like, oh, it's like that was really how you. No, it's like he's breaking it open. Anyway, the paper has number on it. Which was that the same number of the time when Cooper came into Dougie?
234?
253.
253.
253. Which the evolution of the arm says 253 time and time again. 253, whatever. Like repeats that.
So
in
I'm
that
thinking
first
Jack
episode.
Rabbit's Palace might be Glastonbury Grove. And that's going to open up again at that time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if anyone... Oh, I guess Hawk has been there. Hawk has been there this season
Yeah.
to Glastonbury Grove. But yeah, I don't think anyone else that is there we've ever seen them at Glastonbury Grove, at least. Because previously it was just... Oh, Andy. I guess
Yeah,
Andy,
Andy's been there.
Truman, and Cooper are there at the end of that season.
So yeah, we haven't seen Annie yet this season.
We have not seen Annie.
Oh,
No Annie.
I'm not going to look
dead.
at you.
No Donna. No. There's still a list of people I'm like, just throw me a bone. No Audrey, even though seemingly that's her son.
Because, I mean, Heather Graham's still around, but she's not, like, doing a whole lot. So I imagine, unless she's got some vendetta against the show.
She's dead, dude.
Heather Graham's dead?
Her character's dead.
No.
Wait, not Heather Graham.
Annie?
Annie's dead.
Is Annie dead?
I didn't think she was dead. He got her out, and he went to visit her in the hospital, remember?
Wait a
They
minute.
talked about him visiting her,
Oh,
and then...
I must have totally forgotten that.
Yeah, we.
I mean, he
could
could've-
For
he
me,
could've
for me
killed
the
her
last
there,
time I remember seeing Annie was in Firewalk with Me in Laura's bed, and she's all bloody.
Yeah.
And then she's also, we see her in the missing pieces post the Glastonbury Grove stuff because she's, and she says the same stuff that she says in Laura's bed.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember that.
Okay, yeah. So she gets wheeled into the hospital, and she says, "I'm Annie. I've been with Dale and Laura in the lodge. The good Dale can't get out." And then the nurse takes the owl cave ring off
Oh,
of her
man.
finger.
What if this situation, events in her life have driven her insane? She's put in an insane asylum. She gets out and is tracking down Cooper in a chess match with Dougie.
Like, by the end of that, I feel like it was just a bunch of buzzwords describing my least favorite parts of season 2.
the circle's completing, you know?
We also have another ring. We have the ring found inside Major Briggs' stomach, inscribed to Dougie from Janie E. However that got there.
Janie E. What a name.
Janie E. and Sonny Jim.
Stupid family.
But now sexually healthy.
Yeah.
They've got a good thing going now.
Can we briefly discuss the new love interest between Albert and the that one lady?
Yeah, let's do it. Albert and Constance.
When you find somebody else who loves to be around dead bodies, and it's
And-
not a dead body, you're like, we're sub-necrophiliacs. We're like, we
Oh my
just
god.
like to be around people.
What the fuck?
Sub-necrophiliacs.
It's a special connection, okay?
Well, I love how in that scene when they're just over fucking Briggs' dead headless body, Albert's still making his fucked up jokes, and like you can tell she kind of gets it. Like she's
Yeah.
making kind of some jokes too.
They're definitely going to have like some kinky shit go on in one of those drawers where
Oh
you
my
put the
gosh.
dead body.
So, I feel like
I feel like you're a sub-necro.
projecting, Mitch.
You got all these ideas.
I'm non-judgmental of kinks and sexual choices, okay?
I feel like you've been on a few websites that you've had to delete from your history.
They shut that part of Tumblr down, okay?
R.I.P. Tumblr. Yeah, that's a delightful little thing. The fact that they take a moment for Gordon Cole to be like, "Hey, come check this out," and he's like, "Oh, Albert."
And then like puts his arm around her and walks off. I'm like, where are they going?
Oh man, the other Gordon Cole thing I want to mention is we get to see his burgeoning art career occurring.
It's just like 70s crash zooms on after
Yes.
he walks out.
On a drawing of animal.
Is that like what his paintings are like?
It's similar to some of his stuff. Yeah.
Like, is that his style, just probably more painted, or?
I mean, primarily his painted stuff is way weirder. It's a lot of gray shit and
like
weird
abstract
faces. Yeah. And words. There's words in a lot of his paintings too, which is weird. But he did an animated series for HBO called Dumbland that is bizarre in not necessarily a good way. But that type of art is very present in that. And it's just gross people yelling the entire time, basically. But yeah, it's a weird. There's not really anything that I can take from that drawing.
Yeah, these are scary.
Yeah. very, like, if you think of like the aesthetic of a Tool video or a Nine Inch Nails video from the early 90s, or just industrial music, I feel like would share a similar aesthetic with his paintings. But yeah, I feel like we've covered pretty, like, the big stuff. Is there anything else that anyone's dying to talk about? I'm just kind of looking over notes and making sure.
Do we want to talk about Diane? Did you have any more thoughts about Diane Mitchell?
I'm intensely curious to see where this goes, because she had such a strong Cooper connection, and now she seems to have lied previously because she had such a genuinely bad reaction to Mr. C, but now there is some sort of connection there, and I want to know whether that's I just want to know where it roots from, what it means, what her thought process is. I mean, it doesn't surprise me when she was kind of a jaded badass, but it would kind of surprise me if she's straight up like a bad person.
Yeah.
It would just make me sad. And like when we met her, I did not think we would, and I kind of miss just thinking of her as like just a phantom friend of Coop's.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have that line from Gordon Cole too, where he's like, I felt something wrong when she hugged me, which she does right after meeting Mr. C. He's like, but this confirms it, you know? So, and you kind of get the idea, I feel like, too, that she left when she did leave the FBI was on bad terms with everyone. Like, it feels very, very much
But
like
I thought it was all just follow-up from Cooper. Like, I can just imagine this where it's like, what do you mean he's missing what's going on, and her feeling frustrated out of the loop and losing, like, you know, the person she seemed to be directly working with the most. And so that made sense, and now this is a wrench.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe a wild theory here. Maybe if you have sex with someone from the Black Lodge, they, like, you know, they can control you a little bit. Like, their semen travels instead to where it's supposed to go. It's to your brain, but it's not semen. It's like little demons who, like, it's like little planktons from SpongeBob.
Okay. Yeah, Demon Semen.
Yeah.
That's a good band name.
And
Demon AIDS.
And he's like plankton moving the levers in SpongeBob's brain.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
That means we might get Jade back, which I'm hyped for.
It's a theory.
I mean, it explains why Naomi Watts is still sticking around with, you know, that insane person.
Well, that and Dougie's now rockin' bod.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah,
you're the perfection of health.
It transitions from wrinkly goiter to just chiseled.
Yeah, so I feel like that's pretty much everything from these episodes. If you want to talk to us about these episodes at all, feel free to email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter at rewatcherspod. Next week, we'll be watching episodes 11 and 12 of season 3 of Twin Peaks. And we'll go ahead and take a quick break before we get into the recommendations section. See ya in a little bit. Welcome back from the soothing sounds of the one and only Justin Hammer. I don't feel like we call out enough the audio genius of Justin Hammer, who also wrote our delightful theme song. Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.
So we're gonna this is the recommendation section of the podcast where we talk about some other stuff we've been watching to just keep us from jumping too far ahead in Twin Peaks. And this binge culture, it's hard. It's hard. But us podcast rewatchers who have to fill several episodes and release only weekly, really? Mm-hmm. Someone's got to do it. Mitchell, what have you been watching other than Twin Peaks this last week?
I finally saw the Peanut Butter Falcon. I really loved it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I've been watching this one. I actually wanted to wait a few. I was like, I really don't know how I'm feeling about it. It's The Righteous Gemstones on HBO.
Okay.
With John Goodman, Adam Devine, and who's the
Danny McBride? Is
Danny
that his
McBride.
name?
Yeah. And it's delightful. It's a delightful look at like horrible people, but also like greed and stupidity in family and religion, especially like it's this Joel Osteen super church that they're kind of mocking, and but at the same time, like there's this genuine to us where you just like this family dynamic is so hilarious and toxic. It's just really well done. I was not a huge Vice Principals guy, or Danny McBride did one other thing for HBO,
Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down, which I think I liked. I've not seen very much of, but I was all in about trying this. And they have a couple of little one-offs. They have a full flashback episode. Like, it's really good. John Goodman is just really good.
Yeah.
So I recommend that. It's it's gonna be HBO, so it's gonna be short season, only half-hour episodes. I think they're 5 in, so it's bingeable, but you can get on the train. And then I'm wondering if you guys did one of you guys bring up a show called Undone on Amazon?
No, I've been hearing about it, but I haven't.
So
I haven't
Undone stars the same girl. Oh boy, Lita Battle Angel, the same chick from that.
Okay.
I can't remember her name, and I feel bad because she's really good in this.
The main, like,
yeah, I think her name is Rosa Salazar or something. But she was in that, which was better than I thought it would be. And she was in Parenthood before that, so I knew she was really talented. But this is done like Scanner Darkly, where it's all been shot, but then they overlay like an animation style. And I've only watched the first 2. And it's also got this chick who's randomly on a CBS sitcom called Life in Pieces, and they play sisters, and this girl's dad has died, and it starts to get weirder, like you can tell supernatural stuff is going to come in. But at first, it is just a girl who like is in a relationship where she lives with the person, but she doesn't care to get married or start a family with them. She is frustrated with her job, and she just has this monologue about being miserable and stuck. And I think everyone has felt that, especially in your mid to late 20s, early 30s, where you're just feeling that. And so to see that, and then we expand and see her family dynamic, and then where her depression comes from, it is a super unique show, and it's on Amazon Prime. And so, yeah, that and Righteous Gemstones, new stuff I've tried that I'm pretty excited about.
Cool. Yeah, I've also watched Righteous Gemstones, and I loved Vice Principals. I did not like Eastbound and Down.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's interesting. Yeah, Tyler, what did you have to recommend?
I'm pretty sure I only watched one thing. I watched Rashomon. I'm doing my Akira Kurosawa triple header through the next. So I've seen two
infamous, yeah,
2 of them now, and next week I'll have another one.
Cool.
But yeah, I watched Rashomon for the first time. I had talked about it earlier. I had completely different expectations as to what it was going to be. It's a very small film, and it's very. It reminded me a lot of Hero, actually, and now I'm thinking that Hero kind of, it's kind of an homage in a way to Rashomon.
Yeah. Rashomon I feel like is a hallmark of like unreliable narrator or like conflicting narrator tropes. Yeah, for sure.
I
think it's a movie that's very important to film history, and that everyone should watch it for that reason alone. I did think we talked about the cinematography of Kurosawa. He's not labeled as a cinematographer in this, and also I felt that it wasn't as strong. There are some great shots in it, but it wasn't like, Seven Samurai is like every single shot, the whole movie. This one, it's like a little more spaced out. It's definitely a product of its time. Kind of the big climactic reveal feels hard to connect with a little bit in the modern era, I feel like. But I think especially in that era of Japan, especially, I think that fits a bit better for that time period, and it works a bit better for that. But overall, it's really good. It's really interesting, and it's really interesting to see the part of it, honestly, that I enjoyed about it the most was just seeing, like I could tell how much it has influenced other films of that same genre.
Yeah, for sure.
Going forward. But yeah, since we didn't record it last week, I'm going to make a brief weird recommendation. We won't talk about it too long because we talked about it to death before. The band Ghost just released a new EP. And it's like a throwback to like 60s groove rock. And it's called 7 Inches of Satanic Panic. And it's amazing. So yeah, go listen to that, and then Google and Wikipedia Ghost and just read up on the history of this weird ass theatrical band, and you won't regret it.
Yeah.
Last week, after you guys suggested it, I just brought it up on Spotify so I would remember to listen through it when I had time to listen the next day to music. And when I jumped in my car, it automatically connects on Bluetooth, and it usually pops up my most recent podcast. But some weird ass ghost music started playing, and it kind of freaked me out. Like, I just get in my car, it's dark, it's late, and all of a sudden, like, oh man, it scared me a little bit.
Yeah. Oh man, Ghost is great. Yeah. After we talked about it last week, I went and watched those videos, and then then I saw some of the songs pop up on Spotify, and so I've been listening to that all week, and man, they're cool.
Man.
I want nothing more than to be in a theatrical metal band. It's just so cool. Cool. Anything else to say? Marcus, what did you have to recommend this week?
So I rewatched a couple things, and then I started a couple new things. Decided this week to rewatch The Last Jedi for some reason. I felt like it, and I know there are some controversial opinions here on this table.
You mean like when Diane shoots a starship through another starship and they just didn't do that before?
Well,
at hyperspeed.
That's the thing with
I'm
this
just kidding.
movie.
I actually really like this. They hate it. So
I'm so conflicted with this movie because there are scenes that are so badass and so cool, and I'm like, yes! And then there are other parts where I'm just like, this is the fucking worst thing ever. Mm-hmm. So it is so, I don't know. It is so hard to say where I stand on that movie because it's both sides of the coin for me. I don't know. I know Tyler.
You're the first person I think I've heard that like doesn't have their foot strongly in one camp or the other. Like,
I don't know. There are things I can appreciate about it, but then I recognize the parts that aren't really well done.
I say overall I liked it. I definitely know the weaknesses.
Yeah.
I completely understand what pisses me. But also some people are like, they start to then act like every single thing. And they're like, why did he milk the thing? And I'm like, do you not know all the weird little creature shit that happens in all these Star Wars movies? Like, to me, that was a positive, and just, it seems like now people want to, like, pound it to death. So
yeah, I don't know.
It's hating for hate's sake.
I kind of like that I hate it and I love it because I don't think you have to have one particular stance on it, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the thing I've learned most from The Last Jedi is I care so much less about Star Wars than I thought I did. The fact that I'm still talking about The Last Jedi this long after it came out, I'm so tired. I'm just done. I'm like not even excited for another Star Wars movie.
I learned that, and look, I'm gonna see the next one. I'm gonna watch The Mandalorian, or at least give it a shot, like I do every show. A deep dive podcast I listen to that I really love called Binge Mode, which has done Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, and they really deep dive into these really good writers, really good podcasters. They're doing Star Wars next, and I was like, yeah, I'll listen because I like those hosts, but I actually don't give a shit that deep about it. They're like almost, and this is not an insult because I really enjoy them, they're like the Fast and the Furious movies where I'm like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to watch them, and I'm going to enjoy them, but I'm not going to care that much, you know? It's fine. It is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
Apparently I'm the only Star Wars fan at this table. I think that I think they used to be incredible for 2.5 movies. I think, honestly, New Hope and Empire are incredible films in their own right. I think they are boundary pushing. I think they are something that is so unique in storytelling while still paying tribute to the bread and butter of storytelling. And then Return of the Jedi comes along and some bullshit happens. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like the people who I feel like I'm in a weird place because I hate the Star Wars fan base that has taken this to such a toxic level.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to be associated with them. I feel like they're horrible people. And they're the worst people in this whole debacle, right?
Yeah.
Like they are the worst. But I also feel like this movie's getting a weird pass that I don't think it deserves because I think it's easily Rian Johnson's worst film. And I think there are some, just from a movie standpoint, not even just a Star Wars fan point that I think are like, I won't go into it because we talked about it to death. But
yeah, there's those toxic fans. Like there's toxic in every fandom. Like there's some politics now, which is super sad. But I mean, like if it's getting that much mainstream rejection or frustration, and they maybe moved away from Rian Johnson, they're giving him his own trilogy, but kind of moving him away from the Skywalker saga. I feel like it's kind of gotten the crap, and that combined with Solo, like 2 misfires in a row. I think it's kind of the ire has come, but I don't know. I'm interested I don't know. I just, if the original trilogy was such an important part of my childhood, and then the prequels were just fun because they were mine, and I was young enough to enjoy the lightsabers and not kind of realize how bad some of it was. And now I found like it's like when you have a great book that has a mediocre adaptation, you can enjoy it with knowing like, okay, this isn't the masterpiece of this world. But I don't know, if you only like 2.5 movies out of all that has now gone into Star Wars canon, do you love Star Wars or do you love that?
No, I think it's. I think I love Star Wars because it's not because I've gotten like involved in some of the extended universe stuff, not to like quite that level of some other people, but like I think people have done a better job with it who are not considered as talented, who are considered the more nerdy side.
Yeah.
But like stuff in like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, the video game is like that's where I wanted Star Wars to go and explore some of those ideas. And where I thought that's where its strengths lie is in stuff like that, it's just now it's taking it to a place that's Disney, to be honest, and that's not. I mean, the people who love it, they're not going to be the ones talking about it like we talk about the original trilogy,
right?
15 years down the line,
it's money now, which is sad. But I hope that they take like. There's only so much world building he had to do, but like there's just a base level of incredible fun that people can have, and I hope someone else gets to play in that sandbox, and there is still good stuff. That's taken us way off a recommendation. Sorry, Marcus.
Sidebar on the sidebars on sidebars.
I enjoy hearing your guys' opinions on that. So, The Last Jedi. Another thing I rewatched The Big Sick. Such a wonderful film. One of the best romantic comedies ever.
I think I saw that in theater twice.
If you have not seen it, go see it immediately because it's such a delightful film.
Don't go to a theater because you'll be upset.
You'll be upset. It's not there.
It's not there
anymore.
But yeah,
it is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I also saw The Peanut Butter Falcon, another delightful film, just wholesome, fun.
Mm-hmm. I think that we talked about this a little bit. I don't think Peanut Butter Falcon is like a perfect movie.
Absolutely
what I
not.
love about it is it's a flawed movie that I would gladly go see again. And it's just so joyful.
I like that it has a little lack of structure. And the ending, like there's a couple things that are weird about the ending and the way they bring in like the dudes that are after him. But like, I'm kind of okay with it.
Well, I'll mention the thing that I love about it is like halfway through the movie, I was like, this is never how a home would try to find a troubled or like in danger individual. This is a terrible procedure. But this feels like a script that would have been greenlit in the 90s about a troubled teen or something. And I think that's what I like about it is it's like, it's more about just like what are the fun things we can do with these and like put these characters who we probably would never see together and like create a family out of them.
Yeah.
In a way.
I'm willing to take the leaps that they might. I don't know. I mean, maybe you would have a guy who's like, hey, the state can't catch us with this, so you got to. But so I'm willing to buy into that just because I enjoyed them coming together. I got to ask if that is she a good actress, because if you do 50 Shades, I have to you have to make 10 good movies. Like some people are like now being like Kristen Stewart's actually okay. I'm like, never. I hate her. She just breathes really hard. She's a bad actress, and everyone's like, I think, and I saw Adventureland. Okay, she fit for that, but I'm mad about it.
Okay, I will say
is Dakota Johnson bad?
I've loved Dakota Johnson for a while because the first thing I saw her in was a short-lived Fox sitcom called Ben and Kate with Nat Faxon and Dakota Johnson.
That's a remake of my favorite British sitcom.
Is it really? Oh, I had no idea.
The James Corden one. Yeah, I suggested a recommendation.
Anyways,
it's
that
so
show
good.
was really good, and it got canceled, and I was really sad. Since then, she's only been in 2 things that I like. I like her little bit parts in the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, she is good in that. Yeah.
Duo. But also last year she was in the remake of Suspiria, which is.
Did you like that?
I love it.
I haven't
about
seen
watched that this past week.
Yeah,
but
I
it was
love
like
it.
1 a.m. when I was going to start. And I'm like, I got work
Yeah, no.
tomorrow,
Yeah,
so
that's-
I'm gonna
It
wait.
seemed like there was like a lot of hype around it, and then it just like also no one talked about
I
it
feel
anymore.
like
think
I
so.
feel like it got short shrift. But I love the original Suspiria, but this is completely different. Like the original Suspiria is like one of my favorite. The opening scene of that is one of my favorite things to show people because it's just the most busted ass, bloody. Like there's
Is
just
that the
a
glass
moment.
ceiling one?
Yes, yeah. With
That's the
glass
opening
ceiling.
scene?
Yes, that's the opening
Holy
scene
shit.
where you see a just fully exposed heart get stabbed by a disembodied hairy arm. It's like so
Oh,
cheesy.
shit.
It's like, but it doesn't feel realistic at all. It feels goofy. It's really joyful for some reason. But this is a much more serious reading on that, and it's a cast almost entirely of women. And directed by Luca Guadagnino. I don't know how to say his name. Guadagnino, who did
I'm
Call Me
picturing the
by Your
word
Name.
and I have no idea what
Yeah.
it is.
It's really good. I would definitely recommend that. But why are we talking about this? Yeah, Dakota Johnson. She's good in that. Sorry. I am so sorry. Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I love the tangents. I love it. I have one more thing, and I have only watched one episode on Netflix. It's a miniseries called One Strange Rock. Executive producer Darren Aronofsky. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's I can't wait to watch the rest of it. Will Smith is the narrator, but it also has several astronauts who are interviewed, and they talk about their perspective of Earth from space, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So I highly recommend it.
Cool. And that's a documentary? Or what is it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a documentary.
Okay.
Sort of miniseries thing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. This week, so I have a couple things to recommend. The first thing I'm going to do, it's a video game recommendation, but not typical of maybe what we'd normally recommend, is I've been playing a game this week called Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is described in the trailer as a pop album video game. And it's basically an interactive music video that is incredibly just beautiful music and beautiful visuals. But it's on, I think it's on Apple phones now. But that just made me think of like recommendations. The company that produced that is Annapurna, who also does a lot of movies, Oscar movies, particularly from like 2012 to 2015 were dominated by Annapurna. American Hustle, Zero Dark 30, that kind of stuff. Anyways, but they produced this game and it's really good. I think it's a great game for people who don't play games. And it also just tells this really like personal story about this girl trying to get over heartbreak, essentially. But it made me think about one of my other favorite video games from last year that is only available on phones, called Florence, which is about an hour long. And it's more just kind of this interactive experience where you're seeing this chunk of this young woman's life. And it's just a really powerful narrative experience that I think belongs in the conversation when we talk about like movies that do that as well. But those are really great. If you're interested in trying games or like seeing cool narrative experiences on new media that people are pushing, Florence and Sayonara Wild Hearts are both fantastic. As far as what I've been watching, this week I finished season 1 of What We Do in the Shadows, which is obviously based on the Taika Waititi movie of the same name. And it's incredibly stupid and good. It's just a delightfully great sitcom about vampires living in Staten Island, shot in that kind of like mockumentary Office style thing, where they are talking to the cameras. But it stars Matt Berry, who I love from the IT Crowd and Toast of London. And it's really good. It's a really great FX show.
Does it have any of the original cast from the movie?
So the original cast from the movie, the original characters from the movie do make an appearance at some point. Okay. I don't want to spoil any of what's around that, but there's an episode that is star-studded in a way that is unexpected and also attempts to unite every Hollywood vampire character under one canonical umbrella.
Oh man, that's been on my list for so long. Yeah, I need to watch it.
It's really good, and but yeah, so it's really great. It's really goofy, but yeah, it's a really good show. The other thing that I watched this week that I wanted to recommend was I watched Days of Heaven, which is a Terrence Malick movie. I think that came out in 1974 with Richard Gere, and it's a movie that is famous because it was shot entirely during golden hour, which is that moment, if you're familiar with that.
If you're on Instagram, you know.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. So because of that, it has a very distinct look, and is also this in typical Terrence Malick fashion, this very visual poem comes up a lot when people talk about Terrence Malick, and I think that's an accurate description. But it's just a really great moving movie. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it's really good and delightful, and people should just watch Terrence Malick movies. I think even his last 3, which have been these like improvised, not great movies, To the Wonder, Night of Cups, and more recently Song to Song. I'm not going to recommend Song to Song at all. I think it's actually not good. It's very bad. But Night of Cups and To the Wonder, just relax, turn the lights off, don't worry about understanding anything, and just bathe in the beauty of Terrence Malick's vision, because he's just really great. But yeah, I think that's it. Do we have any other recommendations?
I did have one thing that came to mind. This is kind of weird because like when I recommend video games, it's usually something that I've played, but I'm the kind of person who watches people play games too. So Twitch is like the main place that I consume media. But one of the streamers that I watched this week played Untitled Goose Game, and
that's what I thought Tyler was going to recommend.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about this game, it's you play as a goose, and your job, basically, the point of the game is to go around and just make people's lives miserable in like the most hilarious ways. And the animation for it is fantastic. Like it's got kind of a cutesy art style that just feels very warm and welcoming while you're terrorizing these people as a goose. If you've played the Hitman games, it's basically Hitman without killing people, and you're a goose.
I'm in.
I think it's. I watched somebody play the entire thing. Basically, like you have like a to-do list of like steal the old man's slippers, or like trip the young boy, or like just a bunch of different stuff that you're supposed to do in all these different areas, and it's something that you could complete in probably 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. If you wanted to do everything that's in the game, maybe 6 or 7, 8 hours at the most. But yeah, I watched somebody play it. It looked really great. I don't need to play it myself now because I saw everything. But if you're interested in something kind of novel, I would recommend it. It looks really cool.
It's got a great trailer too. So if you just want to see like what this game is about, they have a really incredibly edited trailer that's delightful. I think I told you this last night. I was reading, people were tweeting about it a ton yesterday, and someone had just tweeted that they had played it with their kids, and it came time to go to bed, and he's like, maybe if you're good, we can play some more tomorrow. And the child's response was, I don't want to be good. I want to be the goose. So if you similarly want to be the goose, it seems like that is probably the best route. But yeah, okay. Well, that I think concludes our podcast this week. So like I mentioned earlier, we will go ahead and watch the next 2 episodes of Twin Peaks for next week, parts 11 and 12. We're 4 weeks away from being done with Twin Peaks.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not taking it well. I'm not doing well. But we will, I'm sure, be watching something else after that. If
you have any suggestions, Twitter us, email us.
Yeah, let us know, because we're kind of trying to figure out what we want to watch next. But yeah, so we will just see you guys next week. Until then, signing off. This is Tyler Harris,
Marcus Marinos,
Tyler McKinley,
Mitchell Marshall,
Justin Hammer.
Get it.